Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another episode of All You Can Eat Chelsea. Big up your down cells in the building. Make sure you smash up the likes and subscribe as well. Listen, what a game, what a day, what a dawn. Listen, I don't even know what to say, boys. I don't even know what to say. I'm actually glad I've had a couple of days, though, to kind of recover, I guess, a football hangover from that match, because it actually took everything out of me. I'm sure it took everything out of you guys as well. Miz, brother, how are you doing today? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I was like, you actually took a day off after that game. I thought, let me just let it all sort of marinate, let it all sink in, and let me just try and understand. But yeah, man, great 3 points. I'm as Younes would say, I'm lovely jubbly, man. I'm absolutely lovely jubbly. We move on. We face Man City next up, man. I'm excited. Let's go.
Yeah, Younes, brother. We were doing I saw you doing the watch along. Amount of times bro, I saw Miz as well with Sadiq. I saw Baba, bro. All the screaming, all of the screeching, all of the go, no. How are you feeling today, brother?
It was endless, man. I'm good now. I'm calm and everything's settled now, hasn't it? So we have a better perspective mentally in terms of the game compared to straight after or during, because that was ridiculous. We were on a call talking about we were threatening the team if they weren't going to score the second goal, we were going to do some inexplicable things, right? And we didn't have to come to that, thank goodness. So that just goes to show how crazy that game was. It was unbelievable. I'm glad that it's 3 points is 3 points, as Miz said. But the dust has settled, so we can get into it.
Yeah. Baba, brother, how are you feeling today, bro? How you doing?
I'm good, bro. First of all, a very happy Diwali to everyone who's in the house. This is Diwali week, so it's Diwali week, week of festivities. And Man City play Chelsea on the day of the Diwali. So
it's gonna be fireworks. It's gonna be fireworks.
Fireworks as well.
You know what? Before the game, if someone would have told us that Spurs away, we're gonna have 4-1 victory, we all would have lost our minds. Like, you know what you're saying, bro? Like, this is unbelievable. And now that it has happened, and still there are things that I'm not happy about in the game that I saw the other day. So it's a very peculiar situation that we find ourselves in. But as Miss said, 3 points are 3 points. Doesn't matter how they come. And we were crying out loud for a result against a big team. I don't know if Spurs are a big team or not, but against a top 6 team, we needed a result. And we got the win. And I think October will not be the undoing of Pochettino, as some of us were believing before that run, like the Arsenal game, Man City, Spurs we are done with. Now we play Newcastle after City. So I think he will survive this October and November.
Mad. I mean, I had the big 6 afterwards. I had to do a live review. I saw some comments.
Mate,
people were like,
shameless.
Bro, people were like, I tried to be as shameless as possible. There were some people like, oh, you know, why did he not analyze the game the way it should have been analyzed? You know, from the 6th minute, 20th second to the 33rd minute, 14th second, Chelsea had 70% possession with 6 shots and 2 disallowed goals and 2 yellow cards and 4 fouls and 2 4. I said, brother, are you crazy? It's hours after the game. My head is spinning. Do you think I can analyze anything? It's going to take me days to get over this. So I had to get that stat in there early for the Chelsea fans that felt hard done by. I mean, listen, I think the overriding feeling, I saw loads of reviews. I saw Younes's, I saw everyone here. I saw Miz's, I saw Baba's, I saw Nini's as well. Everybody was not happy. Like, it wasn't just me that was like, oh, that. It was the overriding feeling after playing 45 minutes and 35 minutes against 9 men and watching. I think if I'd gone to the game, I think that's one of the games that you need to be at. Because I think if I had gone, I would not have cared. I probably would have just, gone into my shameless mode, you know,
Yep.
chanting at their home fans, you know, singing songs, just going off. But I think when you're watching it on TV and you're seeing the layout of it, and you're seeing like the high line, and then like 5 of our players offside, it's impossible not to cut. Absolutely impossible. And yes, there was a period where we did our thing, you know, before the 10 men. We do that all the time. Am I meant to? I'm not shocked that we did that against Tottenham. We played well against Liverpool, played well against Arsenal, played well most of the games this season. That doesn't stick out to me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Playing well is no longer like
The second half was FIFA Pro Clubs, man.
oh, bro.
Like people are trying to score a goal against
Do you
the
know what I
highlight.
mean? Bro,
No one is able to check their run.
Bro, nobody wanted to check their run. Nobody wanted to stay on side. It was like, I think there's clips of like the old days where like there was some old clip that always goes around where there's this team that are running like literally to the halfway line. Then you just clip it over the top.
United versus Liverpool. That's United
isn't it?
versus Liverpool.
Yeah.
From the 80s.
This one guy just chips it over the line. Do you know what's so funny? Someone could have done this in this game. Someone could have literally kicked it forward and then ran past the whole line probably if they had the speed. Mudryk could have done this countless times and then just gone. So yeah, I think for me, listen, I've seen us play well for half an hour before. People will say, listen, we were always going to win that game regardless of whether they went down to 10 or 9 because we were playing well. You could flip it and say, maybe we would have lost because look how much we needed to score. Look how much help we needed to get the goal, right? We needed a high line with 9 men and 2 of their key centre-backs off, right? And their left-back. And regardless of whether we played well, it doesn't mean we're going to win games, which is exactly why we're in the position we're in this season. We play well a lot. We don't win, right? We might have disallowed goals. We might miss chances. We might look good, but we don't win because we don't finish our chances. And this game was definitely not a game to say Chelsea were clinical. So, but I want to start off anyway with the pre-match stuff because obviously we didn't even talk about that because we'd done our show already. And the quotes were coming out. Is everybody a lot calmer now? Because Pochettino was pissing a lot of people off with them quotes. Then he did celebrate the goals, right? So he wanted to win. Is everybody like over it now? I was like, the dust settled, or are you still like, don't do that again? Don't do that again. And in the reverse fixture, don't let me see you moving like that again.
I think he should keep his mouth shut. Seriously. I think he should really keep his mouth shut as much as he can. I don't. I think because English being his second language, obviously, I'm not really sure if he's able to articulate what he's really trying to say. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's coming out wrong the way the words he's selecting. Maybe had he said it in, what do Argentinians speak? Spanish?
Yeah.
They speak
Yes, Spanish.
So maybe if he spoke in Spanish, maybe he could articulate exactly what he's trying to say. I don't know. I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'd rather him not speak much anymore. Like seriously, just keep your mouth shut. Just keep it normal. Like, do you know what I mean? Stick to the script. You know, who's playing, who's not playing, who's injured. Are you looking forward to the match? That's all. When he starts talking about all the things, look, it's like this. If you ask me for a honest opinion about a certain matter that is controversial, you know, in an open forum, like I need to learn how to read the room, right? Like I can't just say what I feel because I could really cause a lot of controversy. Deep down, I know how I feel. I don't need to express that. And I think this is something that Pochettino probably just needs to understand. We get it. You love Spurs. We understand that. You don't need to say that. We get that. But if you say it, we get angry. You need to understand we're Chelsea fans. We don't want to hear you talk about Spurs in a lovey-dovey manner. We're not stupid. We get you were with that particular lady. Do you know what I mean? For a long time.
We know that's the love of your life.
That's your love of your life. We understand.
But we
we'll
have
never
kids.
be the same. Yeah, but now we are
to develop.
Exactly. So
We actually have kids.
don't tell me how your time was, those nights were with that particular lady. Don't tell me that, you know. So it's like that at the moment where just keep your mouth shut. What did really get me a bit annoyed, and once again, it's probably the truth. It's when he said, I don't totally feel comfortable with Chelsea as well at the moment. Like, I haven't connected with the fans at Stamford Bridge. I'm paraphrasing here, but more or less he said that I'm not really connected with the Chelsea fans. It doesn't feel, and I was like,
Yet.
but that he needs to instigate. If the fans are not going to jump on him, he needs to embrace, he needs to bring us to him. Do you know what I mean? Like, because for us, he's always going to be a Spurs manager. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the image. So it's him that needs to change that. If he's expecting the fans are going to come to him, no, I'll never get. You're not Jose. Do you know what I mean? You're not one of the legends. Like, you got to win games. You got to show that you care about us a lot, and then only we will reciprocate. Like, do you know what I mean?
Trophies help. Trophies definitely help.
Of course, trophies.
Feel free to win something major. That will change a lot for you. That'll make a big difference for you. People saying don't make us feel like the rebound relationship. I mean, wins like that against Tottenham definitely do help, but it's such a strange game, Younes, because I called it Takeaway Thursday because I'm trying to see what can I actually take from that game and bring it forward. But there's not much, like, because it was 9 men, and then also because of the way Pochettino decided to play with those 9 men. If he had played in a low block, maybe I could have, taken something from it. But it was 9 men with a high line. Like, we probably will never see that again this season. But there were some individual performances that maybe stood out. The Caicedos of this world. I thought Reece James was quite solid as well. But there's one man that got a hat trick, was sweeting and swooing, was shushing at every opportunity, every goal, even the ones he didn't score, still shushing.
3 goals and 15 celebrations.
Yeah.
5 celebrations per goal.
What do you take from Jackson's performance? Because I can only take confidence, to be honest. It's probably one of the maddest hat tricks I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've never come across a game like that where the striker doesn't actually play well and somehow ends up leaving with a hat trick and confidence through the roof now. And this is the good thing. You're right. This is the one thing to take away, is that this could help him, and I hope it does. I hope this is the
that's the issue. Even after a hat trick, he missed a sitter where he skied the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the issue.
But for a striker, this is, as you said, Matisse, the one thing to take away possibly could be confidence, is because for a striker, no matter how it comes, but if you leave a pitch with a hat trick and your match ball and you're able to leave the ground with that in your hand and knowing that I've got a hat trick today, you're going to feel incredible. No matter how it came, but you're going to feel incredible. And at Tottenham. So this is why going into the next game now, there's without question, Jackson's definitely going to feel elevated. It's crazy because, as we've said, the performance wasn't good. But the result of it is that's what you can take away. And if that's going to be a catalyst for him to go and get more goals down the line, then I will have it. I will absolutely have it. Not a problem. Right? It's the same sort of context as, look, before the game, we would have said we'll take a win by any means necessary, right? And I said that. I'll be honest, I think that performance kind of took the piss a little bit in terms of any means necessary. Because when I mean any means necessary, I mean that for us and our perspective and what we're doing. Like, as far as I'm concerned, that result came because of what they did. They threw it away. They sabotaged themselves, and Postecoglou committed tactical suicide. So everything came on a plate, right? I'll take it, but that doesn't mean we got to ignore what happened. However, for someone like Jackson as a striker, this can only mean good things for him moving on to the next game, because goals brings confidence, confidence brings form, and form brings goals. That's the formula for a striker. So if that's what's going to happen, then so be it, and I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, Baba, there was actually still some mad performances that if the result had gone differently, and I keep remembering this, I'm very thankful, but the result could have gone differently, because that 2-1, I think they scored an offside goal. Son missed a chance that Son doesn't usually be missing.
Bentancur had a good chance.
Yeah, and Bentancur as well.
Yeah.
Football is fine margins, because if that ends 2-2, I'm honestly thinking that a lot of people are
This is a different show.
Moving very mad right now. Like,
This is a different show.
If that game in particular ends, like, honestly, I think I can legislate more for a home defeat to Brentford and Nottingham Forest than that one. If you draw that game, Bubba, I mean, what's happening right now? Are we even doing this show?
Yeah, that was the issue, isn't it? From the first minute after the game ended, like 55th minute, Udogie got sent off when they were down to 9 men.
Yeah,
and it took us another
It was
21 minutes.
It was about 30 minutes where they had to play with 9 men.
Yeah, and like it took us about another 21 minutes to break the deadlock. And it was not like they were sitting in a low block. Like they were having this FIFA Pro Clubs high line, which you have to time your through ball perfectly to breach. And we were not able to do that. So that was quite frustrating. And see, two things that I could take away from this game is that Spurs don't have a plan B. If something goes wrong with them, they don't have a plan B. So that's about them. Us not scoring goals comes down to three things. Like that takeaway has three subparts in it. Either the quality is not there, or the players don't trust each other, or they have a fear of failure. If I don't score a goal when I'm in that position, maybe I'm not getting picked for the next game. Cucurella twice in 2 weeks has been in a good goal scoring position, or in a position where he can square the ball to his teammate. In Brentford game, it was Madueke. Spurs game, it was Sterling. And both the times he decided to go for the goal himself with his right foot. And it ended up getting saved. So is it the young team, the very new batch of players, along with the new manager, who are trying to impress and trying to overdo stuff, or trying to, complicate simple stuff? If Cucurella has 2 assists in 2 game weeks, he has a better case right now rather than what he was trying to do, and it didn't come off. First, okay, it's too early to say they don't have the right quality to play at this level. The second part, I think it's the most valid point. Jackson and Sterling, I don't see the chemistry, to be honest. Sterling, do you remember that passage of play when we were 3-on-2? Palmer was on right, Sterling was on left, and Jackson Sterling could have easily played Jackson, but in the same play when Udogie got sent off. Okay, in the hindsight, it was productive for us because that in turn allowed us to be against 9 men, and Udogie committed a silly foul. But we should be doing better in those situations, right? Like Jackson, when he was in the first half, when he got a chance, when he, got himself in a good position, showed a bit of composure there in a tight space, but could have squared it to Gallagher, who was right.
At 1-0.
And Gallagher was right beside him, but he went on. I'm completely on board with strikers trusting their instinct, strikers backing themselves to score the goal, and that is what elite forwards do season after season. They back themselves. For example, if you talk about some of the elite forwards that have played the game, right? Mohamed Salah, he backs himself. I'm not saying he's selfish. He backs himself to finish those chances, even if he's 2-on-1 with the keeper. And 90% of the time he finishes those chances. But ours is a different case. We only take 10% of those chances, and 90% of those chances either get fluffed or get saved by the goalkeeper. So this is the thing which worries me. We've scored 4 goals. Could have been... See, it's a half of decent side with half decent finishers. Like, I'm not even talking about Arsenal, Liverpool, or let's say Man City. I'm talking about Aston Villa. Aston Villa with Diaby and Watkins score 8 goals against this high line with 9 men. Brentford score at least 6 goals with Mbuemo and Visa.
I was more impressed with Chelsea in the first half than the second half. Even though we got all the goals in the second half, and the second half scoreline is a battering. The first half was more impressive because the first half I think we actually played really well outside of the first 10 minutes maybe.
The first 10, 15.
First 7, whatever it was.
After
After the second Son offside, that's when we really play well. But what was impressive though is that outside of all the gameplay, the occasion didn't get to us because the occasion definitely got to them. They started like a house on fire. We know they was going to do that. First 10, 15 minutes, you always have to ride it out in stadiums like this where it's going to be hostile. Apparently, it wasn't even that hostile. So maybe Pochettino did calm it down. I don't know. Like, I'm surprised that they weren't absolutely going for his neck because everything pre-match was Tottenham fans are going to go for Pochettino before kickoff. They're going to be toxic. They're going to be like moving mad. Apparently, it wasn't like that. But the way that their players were moving, so like they were so emotionally charged. They were making, you know, red card tackles when they were 1-0 up. We thankfully weren't like that. The only person that lost his head was Colwell. We had to take him off. We took him off, thankfully, I think, because he could have been sent off if he had stayed on, and then we kept it moving. But going into City, knowing all these things, is there any confidence from anyone here that we can get a result? Because City is a different kettle of fish. Like, this is not going to be anything like what we experienced against Tottenham. And I think we've lost like 6 out of the last 6 against them or something like that. Played them last season about 4 times, lost all of them. 2 third-round cup games and 2 Premier League games. Since probably Tuchel, we haven't actually had this team, you know.
Yeah, we were destroying them under Tuchel, left, right, and centre. We beat them 3 times in 6 weeks under Tuchel.
I don't.
But, yeah.
I think. Look, at this level, right? You know, I think it wasn't that long ago when Wolves beat City. Well, maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wolves beat them 2-1. At this elite level, I always think when it comes to talent, it's almost more or less like everyone's there. Do you know what I mean? Like at this level, it's he. You're not going to beat someone with talent, in my opinion. You're going to beat someone because mentally you're far superior to them. Do you know what I mean? You just, like, as we've just spoken about the Spurs situation, mentally, they lost their head in that match. There was no need for them to do that. What happened?
No, I just saw the comment on the screen. I couldn't believe it. Has it been that long?
Yeah, it's been that long. We haven't scored against them since Champions League final, apparently. Which doesn't surprise me because I mean, what goal can you think of that we've scored against City since then?
Yeah,
the cup games. Lewis Hall should have scored many a times in these cup games when he was on the wing back position, but couldn't make it.
For me, honestly, Chelsea.
It's not a free hit, is it?
No. It's not about being free hit. Whenever, what I've noticed in this season, right, is okay. There have been matches where we haven't played well, but what I've liked about one element, there's so many elements of our game that we need to get better, of course. But one element that I've liked is we've always shown some level of aggression in every match, like whether it be 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there, you know, against Liverpool, against Arsenal, we've always shown aggression. Spurs as well. Like, yeah, they were on top of us for the first 20 minutes. They could have been 2-0, but we always, for some reason, we just kept on showing a lot of, like, you know, we didn't become coward. We didn't become timid. Just go out there and just be that. Like, not honestly, this is one of the biggest mismatches, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one's expecting Chelsea to...
biggest.
Yeah, like, no one's expecting Chelsea to beat. But the players should be looking at this situation that, do you know what? Let's prove a few people wrong. Let's prove them wrong. Like, we're at home. You're going to have the home crowd, hopefully, cheering, because I hear that the home crowd sometimes falls asleep.
The home record is mad.
Yeah, the home record is bad as well. So
1 win out of the last 13.
First and foremost, have the right mindset. Don't be coward. Don't enter the stadium. Don't enter the field thinking we've already lost. Because if that's the case, you have lost them. Like, 100% you've lost. If you're entering before even the whistle is blown by, can't believe Anthony Taylor, then you're lost already. But if you enter the field thinking, do you know what? Yeah, I see you. I hear that you're Man City and I see you're Man City. But come and get the win. We'll make it difficult for you. Come and get the win. And then let's frustrate them. Try and frustrate City as much as possible. Keep them at bay. And you never know, man. You just never know. If you keep people frustrated long enough, you know, brain explosions can happen, as we saw with Spurs. I know with Man City, it won't be that crazy. But Man City are not angels either. Like, they can be broken. Like, not that long ago. As I said, they lost to Wolves
A lot
away
of
from
people
home.
pointing out that they didn't have Rodri in that game, though, and he's obviously
Oh,
crucial.
so with Rodri now they're God mode. They can't be beaten. Only God can beat them. Maybe God can't even beat them. They can be beat. It's just, yeah. For me, the expectation is try and manage a draw. Then we'll see what happens after that.
The thing is with this one is that I look at the table and I think to myself, we need points. Like, we need points. And it's like, I don't want to go into this game defeatist because
exactly this is what I'm saying.
Anything can happen. And at the end of the day, even though it's very much stacked up against us, the record speaks for itself. The home record speaks for itself. Maybe I'd be more confident if we were away. Not much more, but you know, our away record is actually, I think we're pretty high up in the table for our away record. We have to be, considering what the home record's been. I think it's 3 home defeats already this season. For me, we have to try and get something out of the game. Like it's City at home. It's definitely stacked up against us. But when you look at that table and you see that we're 3 points off Manchester United, it's like we need to try and pick up something because we've already dropped enough points in games we should have won. And that was the same logic going into the Tottenham game. The matchups though are gonna be mad, Younes. Like there's Doku versus Reece James, which is gonna be
that'll be interesting.
If he plays Doku, sometimes he plays Grealish in games like this. In the big games, he plays Grealish sometimes. He played Grealish against Manchester United. Maybe he's going to look for more of like a controller out wide who's going to keep possession and retain the ball and circulate it. It depends on a lot of things, but it also depends on how much Pep respects us. Because a lot of managers and a lot of teams this season have not really respected us, and maybe rightly so. If Pep respects us, he'll go with Grealish. If he doesn't respect us, he'll go with Doku. And you saw it with Pochettino. I know he's got his stubborn ways, but I don't think he respected us in that moment. I think if that was Man City at home, I think he would have dropped the line. I just, there's no way I can believe that he would have allowed Bernardo Silva and Doku and Haaland and Alvarez and all these guys, Foden, to have that much, to have a halfway line to play from, and to, there's just no way. So it's
he
just
did
a lack
that
of
against
respect.
Nottingham Forest, if I'm not wrong, in the game in which they got 2 red cards, City. In one of the games, Rodri. In which game Rodri got sent off? I think it was Nottingham Forest.
Was it not
Sheffield?
Forest? Sheffield. I'm not sure. You know, I'm not actually sure exactly what game it
So
was.
I don't exactly remember, but yeah, he has already done that this season when his team was a man down and he just like got the line back a bit and he respected the opposition.
Yeah,
because he wants 3 points.
Yeah, he's going to be a lot more pragmatic if that position, if that moment comes. People are saying, yeah, it was
Rodri and Akanji, 2 guys who were sent off in the Forest game. Yeah.
So, I mean, Younes, what would be your game plan for this one? What would be? I mean, sit back and counter. I guess that's automatic because we're not going to have maybe the majority of the ball, even though we have the players to have the ball. To be fair, with Enzo and Caicedo.
Yeah, I'd be looking to a similar performance to the Arsenal game. I feel like the profiles are fairly similar. So, although I think Man City are a lot more lethal and a lot more accomplished and a lot more on it. So we have to be even more focused and even more sharp and even more urgent with the way that we play against City. But I would probably give a similar approach to the Arsenal game. I would come to terms with the fact that we're not going to have the majority of the ball, but we have to be defensively solid and just try and launch those counter-attacks because we know that City are not going to sit deep. And if our strength is we're trying to get in behind defenses, as proven against Spurs, then we can maybe get something. Maybe, you know, we got 2 goals against Arsenal. I'd like to think that if we were just composed and focused and concentrating, then we would have been able to see it out. Man City is a different kettle of fish, though. I understand that from a Chelsea perspective, what we'd like to think we're capable of. And look, I want to differentiate 2 things. There's us as fans, amongst fans, talking to fans, we can be realistic and honest with each other. Yeah. If I was talking to the players, I won't be saying what I'm about to say. I'll be coming from a completely different angle, and I'll be talking in the same way that Miz has said that he wants the game to be approached, which is correct. They need to have belief, and they need to have that focus and concentration and sharpness, and don't make any stupid mistakes, and be in the game and be in their faces, and don't be scared, and go. You can win. You can go out and win. 100%. That's down to the players, because they're the ones that have to go out and do the job. If we're being logical, it's not just about us though. It's about Man City, and Man City is Man City right now. The toughest team in the world to come up against, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe all bar Real Madrid with a Jude Bellingham looking like he's going to win the Ballon d'Or.
To be honest, even Real Madrid, like they haven't always played well, but Bellingham's bailed them out. They didn't even get bailed out over the weekend. They have no striker, so
exactly. What Man City with Pep and their organization and their options. You're just saying that, oh yeah, they can choose between Doku and Grealish, and not a problem. It's like flipping out. That's what they get to choose. That's not even like a given. It's like just they get to choose. They have the choice of that. It's mad. So we can't let anything slip on the day. If we put in a performance like we did against Spurs, right? Let's be honest. City are going to have a very good day. So we have to be on it. Now, we can be on it. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's not impossible. It's up to us.
We have to be clinical. You have to be clinical.
And
I don't think
exactly.
City are gonna give away, 15, 20 chances.
City are not going to be naive like that, man. Absolutely. They're not going to play a ridiculous high line like that, or when they know how to defend. They're going to be clinical. They're not going to miss chances. The chances that Dyer, for example, was offside, Son was disallowed, this, that. If it's City, they're burying it. So we have to make sure we're on our A game. And there's no lapse of concentration or focus or leaving certain spaces. Everything needs to be perfect. That's the hopefully, like, the optimism comes from, but also the concern. Chelsea have to be perfect, and right now we're not that perfect. So let's hope.
The thing is as well, do you play? So obviously, if you're going off the Arsenal game, Jackson didn't start that game, and it was Palmer false 9, Gallagher in the 10, and then it was Sterling on the right, Mudryk on the left.
This is another problem.
Do you play Jackson after a hat trick, or do you go with the false 9 Palmer? Because I've said it when we played. Listen, I don't think our chances of scoring are any higher or lower with Jackson up front as a striker or with Palmer as a false 9, because his finishing, Jackson, has not shown to be the level right now where we're losing someone who's potent in the box or like good in the air. That cross that came in. And that header, I mean, that was like a real mark of like where his heading ability really is at. All he had to do was generate a bit of power on that, and it's a goal. And the fact that he fluffed it unmarked really showed me like this guy's heading ability is just nowhere near the level it needs to be at to be, to be making that differential between him and Palmer. Because him and Palmer shooting wise, listen, take your pick. He's on penalties at the moment. He hasn't scored an open play, but he's a good shooter of the ball. We saw it for Man City in the Super Cup earlier on in the season against Sevilla. And we saw it in the Community Shield as well. So he can shoot. So you don't need to be worried about that. But yeah, what do you do? Because after scoring a hat trick, it's very difficult to not give someone the opportunity to make that momentum maybe kick on,
This is the thing. And if it wasn't for that hat trick, this answer would be easy. I'd be like, play Palmer up top, not a problem. But Jackson will start against City. 100%. Because you can't drop a striker who's got a hat-trick in the last game. You just can't. Like, we can have the debate as to whether that's the right or wrong decision, right? And I could argue for the fact that I prefer Palmer to be up top against a team like City because I feel more assured. But for what Poch is going to do, and what I think anyone would do if they were manager, is Jackson starts. Because, like I said before, a hat-trick or goals of that manner breeds confidence, and confidence hopefully breeds form, and form breeds more goals. And if you get dropped after getting a hat-trick, your mindset's getting destroyed immediately. Like for Jackson, he's going to think, what more can I flip and do then? And that's not good for him. So I think what's going to happen is Jackson starts, and if he's having a good game, he stays on. And if he doesn't, and he doesn't have that impact, or he doesn't get any goals, or it's looking shady, then Poch has the option to change it, and that's what I think he could do if Jackson's not playing well. But Jackson starts; he has to.
Here's a different perspective. I completely agree with Younes. I think Jackson by default probably starts because of his hat trick. But let's be honest, anyone could have scored a hat trick on that particular match. Like, it just happened to be Jackson. Like it could have been Sterling in those positions, and he could have put those. It could have been, as we have already mentioned, Cucurella missed a chance. So many players. Like the hat trick could have come from anywhere. It just happened to have come from Jackson. And the one time where we needed Jackson to score, and this is coming from someone who believes in Jackson, by the way. I want him to keep starting. I'm just providing.
Yeah, I remember you doing a stream saying we need to, give time.
We need to back them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the one time when we actually needed Jackson to score, which was when it was 1-0, Jackson fluffed. That was still 11v11. He fluffed it. He could have either passed it to Gallagher, or he tried to score, he missed. Here's the thing. Jackson needs to realize if he does start, brother, you need to understand what your role is for that particular match. It's not about the sentimental value that you scored a hat-trick. This is not about that. It's about facing Man City and what is the game plan. So obviously Poch will have a game plan. What way am I going to set up with and without the ball? What do I expect from the attacking players? Where do they need to position themselves when we are without the ball? Where do they need to position themselves when we are with the ball? Right? Like if Jackson is starting, what's his role? And the role cannot just be just to score goals. That's very basic. Of course, he's a striker. That just comes with the job description, score goals. But what does Jackson do to the opposition centre backs?
Because
does he drag them? Does he stay central, allowing the wingers to have the opportunity to attack the half lines? Does he come in to give a lot more? Well,
against Arsenal, we blocked off the passing lanes by having Palmer and Gallagher in those positions.
Exactly.
And to be perfect against Man City, everyone's going to have to do exactly what they have to do off the ball. Like there cannot be any mistakes. They'll break you straight away.
100%. And this is what I'm saying. Poch cannot get sentimental here because Jackson scored a hat trick. That's just by the by, right? But if he thinks that, you know what? For me to beat City, I've got a game plan that actually requires Jackson. And brother Jackson, this is what you're going to do. Without the ball, this is your role to either drag one of the defenders or keep two defenders occupied. You're going to have to do that to create space for maybe a Sterling, for maybe a Palmer. Do you know what I mean? And then what happens when they have space? Where do I want to operate? Do I want to stay in between the two defenders, or do I want to come out so the cutback comes in? Like all of this needs to be worked out.
Yeah.
What does Enzo do? What does Caicedo do? What does Gallagher do? What are all their roles? Everyone needs to understand their role. Like they can close their eye and play. Like literally, they can close their eye and play without the eyes. Do you know what I mean? That's the level of understanding we're going to need, because you best believe Man City, they will know exactly what needs to be done. They will know exactly. So every single player needs to know what they have to do. Me personally, look, I probably wouldn't start Jackson in this match because I feel like his lack of experience is just going to be too much for the City centre-backs.
So would you play Mudryk then?
Yeah, I would play Mudryk. I would utilize his pace because I'm envisioning a particular match where they will naturally have the ball, right? And they will play highline. Like Man City are not known for playing a mid to low block. They will press and they will try and box us in. I need speedsters that can burst through that particular box, and hopefully someone gets at the end of it.
So Sterling on one side, Mudryk on the other.
That would be my idea. And
then Palmer and Gallagher in the tens.
That would be my idea. Where Gallagher will pretty much run around and try and disrupt the play as much as he can with Rodri and whoever else in midfield. And Palmer will be there to assist to lay off those passes to Mudryk and Sterling. And then both Gallagher and Palmer running towards to basically provide numbers in the box. That's how I'm picturing this particular match. I can't picture how we go toe-to-toe. We try and go toe-to-toe. Because if we do, I don't think we have the discipline. I don't think 1v1 we have the discipline to come up trumps against them. They will kill us.
It will be Bernardo,
is just not there.
It will kind of be like Bernardo Silva, most likely in the same position occupying that Odegaard was in. And I think we kept Odegaard so quiet, but that's because from the front we were perfect in terms of cutting out the passing lanes. if we don't cut out those passing lanes and they funnel the ball into Bernardo Silva, or whether it's Foden out there as well. Enzo last game pretty shaky.
But
Caicedo was really keeping that
he
midfield
was top.
together.
He was top.
Fantastic. Yeah. He's the one that wins the ball, cuts out Maddison, who was pretty quiet after the initial 7-8 minutes, whatever it was, and then he obviously goes off injured. He cut out that pass, and then it led to the whole 5 incidences in one. Caicedo scores as well, and then obviously they bring it back. But Mudryk versus Walker, people are saying is a mismatch, and that is just like no chance.
But what is a match? What is a match against City? Everything is a mismatch. Like, tell me to give me live chat. Give me one that is a proper matchup. Everything is going to be a mismatch. We're going to have to hold that pretty much. So we have to deal with it.
Mudryk, someone else saying Mudryk never performs off the bench. Marvo's saying that he says he needs to start games. He wasn't good off the bench. Neither was Gusto against Tottenham, to be honest, either. So yeah, I can hear what you're saying with that, because Mudryk coming into the games was on decent form. He also did have a little bit of an injury though coming into the game that didn't make him 100%. So maybe there was that. Maybe Enzo picked up a little bit of a knock against Romero's tackle, and then maybe he kind of faded as the game went out. I don't know if he was in pain, came off, was hooked in the end. I don't know. Leslie Okachuku, when he came on, I think he was dispossessed as well and was pretty shaky. But then again, he hasn't had a run of starts. I really wish Lavia was fit. I think Lavia for this game would have been brilliant against Man City as well, his former club. I think that would have been a quality option to have in this midfield. I think Lavia would have been a great option, because he had a fantastic performance against Man City last year when Southampton knocked him out the cup, and he was great against us, and he was great at the Emirates. So this guy is actually what it looks to be a big game player. When he comes up against top teams, for the worst team in the league who's relegated, plays really, really well. Always stands out. So I think for this game would have been perfect. People are saying Enzo wasn't pictured in training as well. People are saying he will be fine. We're going to see in the press conference as well. So yeah, I mean, final thoughts, Bubba, on City as well before we move on to a certain Win Stanley.
Pretty much everything you've said. I think I don't have much to add to it. I just feel that all of the players need to be on their A game. We can't have that Disasi Sanchez shenanigans at the back. He really gives me a heart attack when Sanchez has the ball. I don't know what's going to happen next. So you can't do that against City. And I completely
you know what?
agree
City will target him. City will try and press the living daylights out of him. They will.
Definitely. And that is where we need to be very careful. And I completely agree with Miss. It's not like City are unbeatable. They've lost already 2 times this season. So, see, that's the thing with this team right now. Against the small teams, we don't win. Against the big teams, we play well, but we don't win. Like we played well against Liverpool, we played well against Arsenal, but we've not won those games as well. So City not necessarily keep a low block, but they know what is needed to be done to win a football match, and especially a Chelsea side who are still figuring out what kind of football they're trying to play, what is the best 11, the Jackson discussion that we just had. So I think midfield is going to be very, very important. And shout out to Gallagher, man. For me, he has been the player of the season so far. To be honest, he has proved me wrong. And I think pleasantly all of us wrong who were after him last season, the whole season. This team cannot function without Gallagher. Without Gallagher, this system collapses. So I think it's going to be a very big game for him, how he keeps City's midfield quiet. So let's see what happens.
I think in these big games in particular, he is very important, especially when we know we're not going to have a lot of the ball. He's going to act as our kind of player that will cover the most ground and keep almost 2 players in one off the ball, which is needed because we're gonna be chasing a bit. Any of you's worried about Enzo's form? I'm not. However, with Nkunku coming back, who gets dropped to the bench? These are nice problems to have. And to be honest, it's the same goes with Lavia and Nkunku, and when both of these guys come back in particular, because I think the other ones that are injured are obviously Badiashiel's already back. I think maybe this game may be too soon to start him, but I definitely look at starting him after the international breaks. I think he's that good. It just means on the bench we have options. How many times have we looked to the bench and we've seen Washington and Matisse and players that we just know are not ready or we have never seen before? they can be on the bench. That is also going to help us because we will have to make changes. You see how many times Liverpool have made changes this season, bringing on Younes off the bench against Newcastle. I think it was. He bangs in 2 goals. We need that. We need options off the bench. It's not the 11 that wins the game. It's the 16. It's the 5 subs if you use them as well. So I'm not really bothered who starts. I'm just glad to have options on the bench again, where now Pochettino's man management is even more important. It's important now, but it's even more aided by the fact that he's actually got players that I can say you can bring him on. Like, bring him on. It's not like a charity thing that we're doing here. From minute 12 to 33, I've heard this so many times. The amount of people that have said this, you'd think that we were we have never you'd think that we'd never played well before and still lost games. It's crazy. From minute 12 to 33, we scored, and when we scored, we had 74% ball possession, 7 shots, 2 disallowed goals. All of those saying Chelsea only showed up after Spurs went down to 10. Need to know this stat. You're right. And I think, listen, for me, outside of those stats, it was just simply Caicedo. I just think, for me, what I said on Big Six was just, I didn't go through all the stats. I didn't have them. But I just said when Caicedo turned up in that midfield, when he started to get a grip of the game changed. That's why, for me, he was man of the match, because he was clearly, for me, the most important player on that pitch. He was the one that was actually from that minute that you're talking about, 12 or 10 or whenever it was, to the end. This guy was on it, shutting down shit in the midfield. So, but yeah, regardless, with this comment, right, the reason why I've not overly got hyped on it is because even though we were playing better before the men started getting sent off, people getting sent off massively increased our chances of winning that game. Let's not fool ourselves into thinking that because those players, if those players had not got sent off, we would still run riot, because it's not true. In my opinion, it's not true. You give Tottenham their starting centre-backs for the full 90, and you give them Maddison for the full 90, they are not going to get battered for the whole game. We had a good spell. If we take advantage, great. If we don't, we know what comes next. The other team start to get back into the game and they start to create their own chances. If Tottenham can create 3 big chances with 9 men in the last few minutes when we're cracking under the pressure, then best believe they can create with 11 men with their first 11. So there's many ways you can look at it. But at the end of the day, I'm very thankful those players got sent off, because it helped. It helped massively.
Yeah.
Trust me.
The one thing to mention is during that period, because if we're going to use the same logic which we've used, is no matter what the performance, we got the win in the end and the goals came eventually. Happy days. But during those minutes, we were losing 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
So it meant nothing.
We hadn't scored a legal goal, and both the disallowed goals were correct decisions.
And if we're going to dispute that those goals should have been allowed, I don't think they were correctly disallowed, then Tottenham have reason to talk about their goals. When they were down to 9 men and they scored with Eric Dyer to make it 2-2, but that was offside incorrectly, so it was ruled out. So yeah. At the end of the day, the result is the result, and that is the most important thing to take away from it. But I completely agree with what you said, Matisse. During those minutes that show that we were in the game, absolutely, we were losing 1-0. But you give Spurs 11 men throughout the whole game, and I think the game was only heading in one trajectory. And we went down to 9. They went down to 9, and we were struggling. So this is why we were saying when they went down to 9, the goal is coming. It has to come. Surely it comes, because if we don't get a goal, it's an international war crime to not get a goal against 9 men. We were saying, even on our watch-alongs, it has to come. It's going to come. It's going to come. There's no possible world where it doesn't. And that's exactly what happened in the end. We managed to get not just 1, but we ended up getting 3. So happy days.
Let me just quickly, before Matisse answers that, let me just put my 2 cents on it. Look, guys, it's not about... We have to start being honest to each other. It's not about our rivalry and Spurs, and we can't show them. Look, every time Spurs had the ball, forget about 11v11. Even when they were 2 men down, there was a certain pattern to their madness. All right, there was a certain pattern to their chaos. All right, you look at the way we manufacture our chances. There's no pattern to it, and this is something Poch has to work on. There needs to be a pattern to manufacture our chances. our chances generally come off either a Sterling dribble, some sort of chaotic situation that we created after a set piece, balls bopping around. Very few that I can remember where we've put together 7, 8, 9, 10 passes together and absolutely obliterated the opposition. And boom, we're there in the final third. Do you know what I mean? Our system, our organization has done that. It's not that. It's not been that. You look at the way Spurs operated in the first 20 minutes. They could have been 2-0 up. Their second goal, which was rightly disallowed, that was well manufactured. That was so well manufactured. So that's where you got to understand. You don't look at stats. Stats will tell you, yeah, we had shot. You can have a shot 30 yards out. That don't mean nothing. You can have a shot. Anyone can have a shot. But how did you culminate those shots? How did you come to that shot? That's what's more important. So don't worry about stats. Watch the game. Watch what happened in that game. And as Younes has said, as Matisse has said, and as Baba has said, as I've said in my review as well, Spurs self-destructed. Spurs absolutely self-destructed. And luckily enough, we took advantage of it. And we are all very thankful that we got the 3 points. Do you know what I mean? We don't know what 11v11 could have been, but I think we have an inkling it wouldn't have been 4-1 our way. Do you know what I mean? I think we all have an inkling, but I'm glad it turned out 4-1.
Like I said, football is fine margins, and I think the disparity between 4-1 and 2-2 or 9-1 is actually like that, which is actually quite incredible. It's very rare that you say that, but it's that difference. It's literally this. It's either taking, exceeding your XG, which Jackson just about did, but, really being clinical in front of goal, or it's mayhem at the end, or it's exactly what happened. But like I said, for me personally, I'm not going to get too gassed on playing well for that period of time, because I've seen us do that so many times this season. And I don't rate Tottenham to the level of they can't be, we can't play well against them. That's not a shock. So for us playing well 6-33 or whatever it was, that's not really a shock to me, because I expected that. I expected us to, at some point in that game, play well. Winning is the shock. That's the shock. Winning is actually the surprise. Actually taking the chances, obviously there's context to it, but actually winning the game is the shock, because there's many a time this season where I've sat on this show with this live chat and I've said we played very well, and people are like, we don't care. We don't care. Did we win? No. Where are we in the league? 12th. Who beat us? Aston Villa. So it's only when we win now people care that we played well. If we lose that game or we draw that game, people don't care that we played well from 6-33. So we shouldn't overemphasize this we played well thing, and then because we got the result. Because at the end of the day, when it's the other way around, we're not talking like this. And that's just facts. We're not talking like this. For me, what's more important is actually taking what we can take from that game and understanding the context of that was a very special game. And it's a great win. Don't get me wrong. It's fantastic to win that game. Yeah. Very, very happy to win that game. But those circumstances, the way that game was played under, we are not going to face that again for the rest of the season. So there's only a few things we can really take from it and kick on to the next. But it's a very weird game, I have to say. It's a very strange game. I think the only other thing is obviously the defense is Cucurella versus Colwell situation as well. Is like, who do we play in this back four? Obviously, when Badiashile comes back as well, it's going to be even more interesting. I'm very, very comfortable with the whole competition of Badiashile versus Colwell, if that's what it becomes, because I think Silva was really good. The guy was sprinting, tracking runs at at his age in the 50 or 60th minute or whatever it was. It was mad, obviously in a high line, because he was trying to put pressure on them. So I don't know. I think Cucurella and Colwell, it's a strange one, because both of them lack things that we need in that position going forward, and they can't give it to us. So we're still hampered regardless. But it's up to him to kind of balance out that defense, because I do think we need to go back to just playing 2 fullbacks, 2 centre backs, and just being balanced again. Because that goal that we did concede, although it was a deflection, I think if the fullback is touch tight on, gets closer to Kulusevski quicker, I don't think we concede that. It's almost like Colwell forgot that he was a fullback and he went into centre back mode a little bit.
Yeah,
which was, do you know what I mean? It was like, if Cucurella, he would have been overly aggressive. You know what I mean? He would have been onto him. So I don't know. Like, I know we're looking for height and whatnot, but at the same time, it is it is slightly imbalanced. So we need to look at that. But before we come to a close, last thing was Emma Hayes. There was a report that went out yesterday about Winstanley not doing up the contract in time or not prioritizing the contract, and then Emma Hayes ends up going on to become the US women's national team coach after the season's end. She's been here, 12 years? Listen, I don't follow the women's game, thoroughly. I'm gonna just say it. She's the best coach in the world. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, even if there's others that are better, there's obviously Barcelona who do brilliantly, Lyon. I'm not well educated on each coach in the women's game. But for me, she's the greatest. She's the GOAT. I fucking love her, right? She epitomizes Chelsea. She says it the way it needs to be said, and we win shit. Simple as. She's ticking the boxes. So for her to not, now listen, she's gone through a lot of health issues. She's been at Chelsea a long time. So it might not be the board's fault. Maybe she just wants a fresh opportunity. Maybe she just wants less games. Club football's very demanding, even though, she was saying that she wanted more teams in the league, which, I think is fair. So more games. But, she's been here a long time. So nothing lasts forever. Maybe it is on her own accord that she wants to make this move. And that job is massive. The women's national team, is huge. For that job to come up is once in a lifetime. So I get it. But if it is Winstanley, and it's such a weird one, because you don't know what's true, because I need more journalists to report on it, to be honest. Like, the one guy is not enough from the Mail. But we have heard this before, where it's like he's not got something done contractually that needed to get done, whether it's Mason Mount. People were going off about that. Now, obviously, we don't care because we've got Cole Palmer. Before, it was Caicedo talks and that deal, and then obviously the board having to step in for other big deals as well. I'm not saying the guy needs to be let go, because obviously this is an area of where he's maybe weak on. Everybody's weak on certain areas. Maybe he's just a scout who can find talent, but then when it comes to actually talking and getting things done in that way, no, it's not him. I don't know, Younes. Like, what did you make of it when you saw it, bro?
Well, I saw the initial report, and then everyone was jumping on Winstanley's back. And Winstanley is sporting director here, so we have to acknowledge that. Co-sporting director. So it's going to be part and parcel of the job now to negotiate and whatnot. And there was previous criticism. We almost missed out on Caicedo because of Winstanley, if you remember. It was Igbali that had to come in personally to wrap up this deal and get it done because of what Liverpool done. And we didn't negotiate in time, and we were taking forever. So there was that. With this, I've managed to track down what was said in 2021. So there was the Telegraph, Tom Gary, who reported in 2021 that Emma Hayes signed a new deal at Chelsea, a new Chelsea contract, right? And Roman was still there, by the way. This was under Roman. And at the time, the day that it was put out, he said that he's told Chelsea haven't revealed a specific end date for Emma Hayes' new deal because there isn't one. It says she's staying essentially on a permanent, long-term basis. Neither party felt the need to set an X-year length because their commitment to each other is absolute. So there's no end date. And you hear, when this whole Emma Hayes thing come out recently, you hear that apparently Emma Hayes wanted to stay. And she was waiting for a new deal to be put forward, something that they can eventually get done. And nothing's happened. So the US has come in with an offer that she just can't say no to, although her preference was to stay at Chelsea. Now, if that's the case, eyes are on Winstanley here, my friend. But if there's, also have to entertain. Maybe it's also a case of Chelsea haven't acted, and the States have come in with an offer, and she's bamboozled, and now she's considering something that wasn't on the table before. Maybe that's the case as well. We actually don't know. I hope it's not Winstanley messing it up, because if it is, then there's a problem. So, and I'm gutted, to be fair, because Emma Hayes is part of the fabric that, look, she's been at the club for 12 years. She's part of that old school Chelsea DNA that was so successful. She's brought so much to the women's team. And as of today, there's now rumors that there's players in the Chelsea women's team that are not looking to sign a new deal because Emma's going.
This is my problem. This is my worry.
It's the same effect that the men's team had is now what the women's team's going to have if this goes left. So I'm gutted.
I don't think Rob dismissed it. He said that be careful that some journalists maybe, capitalize on the fact that Winstanley previously has had contractual issues and they might just be putting 2 and 2 together and just making it into a story. Didn't say it wasn't wrong, just said to be careful when you're reading it. But he didn't dismiss it, that's for sure. Don't know about Fletcher. I haven't seen him.
Even Fletcher said that he's still trying to find out what's going on. He's unsure.
Yeah, we need some of the big ones to come out and denounce it. But regardless, yeah, it's a big loss for the football club, regardless of what's happened. So that's a big shame. And hopefully there isn't those consequences that you said with the players also jumping ship as well. Because I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of like the last part of the club that's still operating at a Chelsea level. And we lose that, then we're basically whipping it all to the starting it all over again.
Just to put it into context, right? Because this was the Athletic that come out with the information about the players, right? Sam Kerr, Frank Kirby, as well as Berger and Marin Melde are all out of contract next summer. And because they're out of contract next summer, they might not choose to sign a new deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's mad. Some big hitters.
Crazy.
Some big hitters. It's a shame never won the Champions League. That was the last thing to get done. I remember that final defeat against Barcelona. Barcelona actually ripped us to shreds. That was like playing. That was a different level of football that they were on. So that's a shame that we didn't get to get that done before she went. But we move. Man City next. People, I mean, it's weird for me in particular because I feel like I've been defending us this season so much, and this today I'm against us. It feels in the chat. I don't know. Marvo is absolutely kicking off. He's screaming. He's shouting. Listen, I don't take it personally. Everyone's got their opinions.
Yeah, don't take it personally.
No, of course not. I just think a lot of what I've been saying this season, when I've been hearing borderline Poch out, if we don't win this game, suddenly for us to win and now everything's okay, it's just insane to me. Like suddenly now we need to give more flowers. Like what we did against Tottenham for me is what we've been doing all season, apart from the 9 men, which made it for me a lot more, not as good. But then the occasion, so it kind of maybe balances out. But what we've been doing this season, that the epitome of that game, basically, in the second half, I think, creating, not scoring, frustrating, but in the end, thankfully, got the job done this time. Younes, brother, I'll let you go first. Let the people know where to find you. I know you could only do an hour, bro. Big up, much appreciated.
Absolutely, man. It's been quality. Let's hope this time next week. If we've beaten City, oh mate, it's gonna go left. But let's see what's gonna happen. You can find all the latest and my thoughts on what's going on, as well as the preview to Chelsea City, which I'm sure all of us are going to be dropping on our channels. But you can catch mine. Younes Talks Football.
There you are. Miz, let the people know where to find you, bro. It's been a pleasure. Great show.
Yeah, man. Like always, great show. The other side of the coin, just like Younes has said, same thing. Watch-alongs. Preview, just a whole heap of stuff coming up, and I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic facing City. Look, I'm not as gun ho as I was for the Spurs game, where I was like, no, we need to win. Yeah, we need to. Against City, I'm not stupid. I understand. Like, this is to say we need to beat City. Can be somewhat delusional. So I set the benchmark at draw, and then whatever happens from there. If it's a loss, please don't get disrespected. Loss in a manner where we can still be somewhat proud to say, somewhat proud to say, you know what, we made them sweat. We made them sweat.
Yeah, make it very competitive. I bet.
Very, very competitive. So that Pep can come out of that match and go, do you know what? I think these guys are going to be something, man. I think they're going to be something. And if you win...
I mean, well, if you win, then,
all you can do
unless City are down to not eight men.
7.
Unless City are down to 8 men, then it's gonna be a party. Do you know what I'm saying?
By the way, if we do win, Matisse, I think we will have to have the following day. all you can eat Chelsea.
Yeah, 100%.
Straight
Well,
up.
I don't know if it'll be following Mondays, or maybe it could be. We have to see after, because usually I'm in F1 on the following day, but we'll have to see. Hopefully, actually, because that would be good. Baba, let the people know where to find you, bro. Pleasure as always.
Yeah, man. Same place, Drogbaba, and I just hope that we get an ugly win over City. Doesn't matter how it happens, because it could really turn a season in the right direction, to be honest. And the games in which we've lost silly points, I think it all balances out if you beat Spurs and City. So I think this is going to be a very, very massive game for us, and let's hope, man. Let's hope for the best. Not too optimistic, but yeah, it's at Stamford Bridge, right? It's at our home. Yeah. Let's hope, man, for a miracle. And then Newcastle after the international break, maybe Nkunku and Lavia will be.
They're beatable. Newcastle's beatable. Yeah. Dortmund has shown that.
So suddenly from the trenches, it looks like we can challenge for the European places after all.
I did predict 11 points out of 21 in this run.
Thanks to 2 stoppage time goals by Nicholas Jackson. All of this because he scored twice in the injury time.
I think we've got what? So we've had 3 games. We've got 4 points from 9. I think I predicted 11 from 21 in the end.
So we're on track.
Just my outlook.
I think we might be a point behind. But yeah, almost.
My outlook is try and limit the damage as much as possible until Nkunku comes back. Like, pick up as much as points as we can throughout this. I think Nkunku will be a game changer for us. So just don't lose as much as points and lose ground. And then Nkunku comes in and there's a mountain to climb. Do you know what I mean? Let's try and keep it as close as possible. And then he comes in and he'll be the kicker.
The mindset has got to be we need to get a result, but this is the only game in that run-in I predicted a defeat. Every other game I went with, we're getting something. Because I think this is the only team where I've unfortunately kind of, unless I was to be deluded, I've accepted that, this is like trying to, climb Mount Everest right now, with the record we have with them. But every other game for me is winnable, providing the context of what's going on coming up to it. Hopefully players are fit.
This is the sort of game Conte would try to lose 1-0 only.
Oh dear God. I mean, thankfully Poch will not be doing that. I can Jesus. No, that's just nasty.
And this is the game that Sarri would lose 6-0 in.
Hey, mind you, Sarri beat Pep's team 2-0 as well at home with Willian and Hazard, I think.
Yeah.
They scored
That
was a fantastic game. That was an unbelievable game by us.
Mad. Yeah. Well, listen, guys, we're going to wrap up. The best thing about this show is that I have taken down some names of people in the chat who have been extra emotive today, and I'm glad that you've been emotional. But this will come back to bite you if I see any hypocrisy in defeats coming forward in this season. In particular, if we play well and I see people talking to me about Poch out, Matisse, you're on the edge. Matisse, we're not too sure about your guy. And we've played well, I will be reading out the names of the people today who wanted to be extra emotive with me. So listen, we're going to see. We're going to see, because what we don't want is any hypocrisy. As long as you're being true to what your actually beliefs are, then fantastic. But if you're just taking the moment in because we won and you're not going to hold this energy with a defeat at home to someone else, I'm not going to be very impressed, and we will talk. The last thing is PYS saying that we're signing some other Brazilian. Listen, I don't know where they're going to. I don't know where all these young midfielders are going to play, but apparently he's very.
Is he in his mum's womb at the moment, or?
No, he's actually.
We saw the ultrasound, and
no.
We will kicking a ball.
We will be live streaming the birth. We will be live streaming doing a watch along for the birth. We will be there. We will see. As the baby shoots out ready in a Chelsea shirt.
Bro. Yeah, listen, all I have to say on that is let me know when it's done, bruv. I'm not thinking about transfers. Maybe international break, but yeah, the amount of young players we be moving for. Right now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm kind of just thinking of just the game. Just if we need a striker, cool. But apart from that, please just let me focus on the game. Until next time. Big up your damn selves. In a bit, people. Peace.